it's not a long answer, is what's your favorite show on TV? Who do you admire? And what advice would you give women? But those are quick.
Okay.
I just don't want to surprise you.
Okay.
And then we both say at the end, because this is my motto.
Okay, I love it.
Remember, kindness counts.
I love it.
So, I hope I can see. My eyesight's going.
That's always a problem with me. The lighting affects me now. If I have too bright lighting, I feel like everything gets muddled on the page.
Well, this one's nearsighted and this one's farsighted.
Oh, boy.
So now, and I have the glasses, but ask me about the glasses. I can't figure out my glasses.
I think they make you feel lightheaded sometimes. I know I had weird glasses, too, that were supposed to do both things, and my eyesight's not bad. Yeah, but I just have, like issues with lighting for some reason.
I understand. Yeah. Like at night, I can't drive anymore. Okay, we ready? Okay.
Is this down?
I'll give you the 10 seconds of silence, and then I'll cue you, okay?
Hello and welcome to TerraceTruthTalkin. I'm Joanna Bonaro, and today I decided to create a new category for our special guest because when I thought of her, she's a true Renaissance woman, and I just thought, when I think of this woman, I think about how to flourish with finesse and flair. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Maureen Van Zandt. Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, Joanna. I feel I should leave now because you've built me up so beautifully. I don't think I could ever live up to that.
No,
but it's great to be here and great to see you as always.
Thank you. So I'm just going to give a little preface to our listeners.
Of course.
Because I figured for flourishing, which is kind of a new category in the 7 F's of living, or I should say 77 at this point, F's of living. And the new category is flourish. And I was thinking about how you flourish, how we all flourish as women in our 40s, 50s, and 60s. And holistically, I looked it up, and I think it's on point. The aim is to use all of our creative powers and talents and skills into creating beautiful, and I added the word, enriching experiences for yourself, oneself, and also others.
That's perfect.
Thank you. So with that kind of theme in mind,
okay,
you are such a Renaissance woman to me. I thought I would copy Quentin Tarantino and say, once upon a time, there was a little girl in New Jersey who started to flourish by dancing.
Yes, I was a little girl in Newark, New Jersey, and I always loved music more than anything. I went to dance class because my best friend went. I didn't really have any thoughts about it. I went. We both took ballet and tap. I was terrible at tap. I was great at ballet. She quit the first day. I fell in love with it, and I stayed.
That's wonderful. I always wanted to be a ballerina growing up. I don't even have the bone structure for it. But it used to be, I'll age myself now, at like 4:30 on Channel 13, they used to have all of the ballets.
On yes.
And I was transfixed. So we would eat dinner at 5:30, and everyone would be saying, Joanna, it's time to eat dinner. And no way were you moving me from that TV. I was just watching the ballet.
Yes, I mean, it's a fairy tale world, and it's so easy to get caught up in that. So it's everything is beautiful at the ballet.
Yes,
it's true,
yes,
right?
Yeah, you're right. So you're Italian-American.
I am, yes.
And so your parents, at least at the beginning, helped you with your artistic, creative, flourishing pursuit?
The truth is my parents, my mother is a very creative person, but not entertainment-oriented at all, nor was my father. They didn't discourage me, but they didn't really encourage me. I think they thought I was kind of a strange little girl who liked to draw and paint and listen to music in my room and do my ballet classes. I wasn't one for going out in the streets and playing with the other, although I did do it because, that was the 50s and that's what we did. But the person I would say who probably influenced me the most, again, not an artist, was my grandfather, who used to take me. He loved going to Broadway shows, so he used to take me. No one else wanted to go with him, and he'd take me. So I got to see West Side Story when I was 7 years old, and saw Cheetah Rivera, and thought, oh my God, I want to do that. I'll never be able to do that, but I want to do that.
So that's kind of what started you on your creative path.
Yes, I really wanted to be in musical theater, but I was not a great singer, so I thought, okay, the dancing is something I love more, and it suits me better, so I went on that path.
And I think once you told me that you performed professionally as a young child in the ballet, and what were you in? You were in the Christmas? Which
company?
No, not the company. Well, you can tell us what company.
Well, Nutcracker.
The Nutcracker, right?
Always. But, I danced with the Garden State Ballet. That was where I studied more seriously. I started out in just a little local Miss whatever dance school. I can't remember the name, but... And Connie Francis was also studying there. She was older than me, but she was I guess a teenager and was studying singing, I think, in the same school in Newark, New Jersey. But then I ended up studying at the Garden State Ballet School, ended up dancing with them, worked with American Ballet Theater, the Metropolitan Opera Ballet.
Wow.
And, kind of...
That's very exciting. That's very impressive for a younger woman, and...
Yeah, the thing is with that career, it starts very young.
Yes.
Usually you start performing. I mean, if you're joining a company, you could be joining a company at age 15, and then by 30, you may be done because of the injuries and the toll it takes on your body and, and all
like
that.
athletes.
So it's a very very limited career, unless you...
But fulfilling.
Drag it. Oh, absolutely,
but fulfilling.
And it's something that stays with you your whole life. I mean, that discipline you learn, that love of beauty, it does stay with you. And, I've continued to take ballet class my entire life until very recently, because of an injury. But it's something that just became, after I stopped doing it professionally, it became my daily meditation. It was a place in the world where I could just go and escape and be away from everything and be in another world. And I think we all need that in our lives.
I think you're right, because I was going to say to you, I know that you every once in a while you still get up and dance. I mean, I just saw you at the Disciples of Soul concert.
Oh boy,
going about.
Well, that's just pure embarrassment at this point.
No, it's not.
But I did do go dancing when I was younger as well, because when we were in the ballet companies, they would pretty much lay you off in the summer, so we'd have to find other work. So I would sometimes work as a go-go girl. I worked as a model in the garment center. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that, summer type gigs, just to to do something interesting in between.
Well, I actually discovered a few things when I was looking some things up from you, and you've been on a Darlene Love video dancing.
Oh, yeah. That was a few years ago. My husband, Stephen, produced really what's her first record at age 72. I mean, she's, obviously a legend and has performed with everybody on earth and recorded with everybody, Elvis, and did all the, many of the Phil Spector great classic records that that's Darlene Love's voice, and people it's just not listed as Darlene Love. But anyway, we've gotten friendly with her over the years. Stephen has worked with her a lot.
But you dance. That's the whole thing, is you keep on dancing.
Yes,
what's great.
And I keep on dancing. And she did a video a few years ago of a song that Elvis Costello wrote, and they asked me to do the choreography, and I ended up just dancing it a little bit just for fun. And it was great. So I'll still do it. I mean, as long as my hips and my knees hold out, I'll keep doing it.
Well, I think it's important to show that what we find in our lives, even if it's at a young age, don't give it up. If it's fulfilling to you and it gives you enjoyment, keep on pursuing it one way or another.
Exactly. I mean, I don't believe that, at a certain age you have to stop doing anything. It's like they say to women, oh, you shouldn't have long hair after a certain age. You shouldn't have bangs after a certain age. I think you do what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And if you want to do ballet class when you're 65, 70 years old, and I've had students that are that age, do it. If you can do it physically, I mean, it's just... There's nothing that it can do except enhance your life.
Right. And I think it's finding that joy that I think is important, doing something where even physically you're enjoying your body, but also then mentally and emotionally it's bringing you some sort of fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that's all that counts.
Exactly. It all works together. Even if you can't dance 5 steps, you just go there and you do it and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. So I'll segue a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about music, because you when did your love of music begin? I know that at one point you had a 6-foot Elvis cutout.
Oh, yeah, he disappeared. I loved music from when I was a little girl. My uncle, Mario, used to supply the jukeboxes in New Jersey with all the singles. So every Sunday he'd come to our house and he'd bring a huge box of singles. So I had every record imaginable, and this was like Christmas to me. Every Sunday I'd wait for him to come. So I just would play, from when I was really, really young, I'd play all this stuff. And then I had a babysitter who was an Elvis freak. So she'd play Elvis every time she babysat me, and I kind of just fell in love with rock and roll and with music in general.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you love Elvis, and I think I read somewhere that you love the Beatles, and you had a crush on a different guy than I had a crush on. Who did you have a crush on in the Beatles?
My Beatles crush was George Harrison. He still is.
Okay.
Are you a Paul McCartney girl?
Paul McCartney.
I can tell.
Yeah.
All of my good girlfriends were Paul McCartney lovers, so it was good because we didn't have to fight.
You didn't have to fight.
We didn't have to fight. But yeah, the Beatles really kind of changed my life. They just brought so much joy. It was the year that JFK had been assassinated, and it was very shocking for young people to experience that, and the whole country I think was in a sort of depression, and the Beatles came a month or two later, and they just brought joy. There was something different. I fell in love with their music. I would sneak into New York to go to their concerts. I got to see them a number of times, which I can't believe it. When I tell people that now, they're like, "What? You saw the Beatles?" I'm like, "Yes, I am that old." But I was a teenager, and that's something that I cherish forever.
I think that's a wonderful life experience. You have some extraordinary life experiences, Maureen.
I've had some crazy things happen. It's
I mean, it's wonderful. So wait, what was your first concert? What was the first concert then that you went to? Was it a Beatles concert or?
I think maybe where I sort of went on my own, and I wasn't supposed to be going on my own, but I did, was probably the Beatles. But I know when I was about 9, maybe, I talked my father into taking me to the Dick Clark show in Philadelphia. I mean, that's how crazy I was. And so that was the first.
Dick Clark. I remember Dick Clark.
Yeah, so I think that was the first time I saw Fabian. I remember Jackie Wilson.
Oh my
because it was a variety show, and so I think that was probably the first in-person performers that I saw, aside from Broadway people. But I think those were about the first musical or rock and roll performers. And then I'm guessing, the Beatles probably was. So not a bad way to initiate your concert career.
So I'm looking at all my notes here, but you also, it's very impressive, you got into the High School of Performing Arts.
Yes.
And that was for ballet?
It was for dance.
It was for dance.
Yeah, the dance department. Well, it was ballet. I was a ballet dancer, but we had to do all kinds of dance and learn how to do makeup for dance and dance history, and plus all the academic stuff. It was a tough school.
I was going to say, it's not an easy school to...
No, academically it was very tough. I mean, I think a lot of us thought, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to just dance all day, and It was a tough school, but again, the discipline was really great, and it was wonderful to be around other creative kids, because when I was in school, in Newark, I did go to an arts high school there for a very short time, but anywhere else I went, I was not surrounded by people that I felt I fit in with. I always felt a misfit. So when I was there, I felt that there were kindred spirits, and it made me really feel more comfortable, more creative.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, I was considered, the good girl in life was considered the black sheep of the family because I wanted to be an actress, which is so strange when you think about me and my personality.
Well, we come from the Italian-American family, so that's how it is. I mean, my father was like, okay, so you'll dance for a while, and then you'll just marry some guy, when you finish with that, like that's just like a fun hobby for you, and then after that, you'll just, get married, have kids, and, cook pasta. I don't know.
No, it's true. No, actually, my father, God bless him, he loved us very much, but he didn't even want us to go to college. He was like, what for? They're going to get married and have kids.
Same here.
Same here.
We especially were women at those times. I know at one point I wanted to be a doctor, and, my father would say, you can't be a doctor. Maybe you can be a nurse. And so that just was a mentality. You can't blame them. He was, I loved him. He loved me, but just didn't really.
It was the way they thought.
They didn't get how we were. Yeah.
It's generational, I think. But so moving on with your whole life in music and dance, your whole life is basically, is surrounded on being creative and flourishing that way and expressing yourself one way or another, either as an actress, a dancer, a producer, a philanthropist. So my question is, what do the arts do for you if you really had to sum it up? And then we'll get into the whole acting thing.
Well, I always use this quote from Picasso, who says the arts wash away the dust from daily life.
Oh, that's
beautiful. So I just feel they make everything better. I don't know how else to say it, but so simply it makes me feel better. It makes me feel better not only when I do it, but when I see other people doing it.
Yeah.
I think it also shows people at their truest self. I think that you can't, if you're a really true and great artist, I don't think you can really hide your soul and your heart from people. So I love that part of it.
You have to scrape away the onion, and you have to show really the beauty, but also the rawness. You have to show everything, because that's when you're unique. I think no matter what artistic vehicle we're talking about, then it shows the unique human being underneath.
Exactly, and I think that's the humanity of it. The fact that you get to see the truth of people and the soul of people.
Yeah, I know you and I share a love of Cassavetes.
Oh God, yes.
And I saw a quote that I think you might have mentioned before, but I'll bring it up for the listeners. And it's no matter how old you get, if you can keep the desire to be creative, you're keeping the man-child alive.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And I think that's beautiful, because part of I think the wonder of being able to create, and I think, by the way, everyone's creative, don't you?
I do. I just think that sometimes it hasn't been awakened in people, or they don't feel they have permission to do it.
Right, the permission.
Yeah.
But I think if you can maintain that childlike quality, that sense of innocence, at least when you are in the zone, so to speak, that's when we're talking about flourishing. That's when you find contentment too.
Yeah, I agree, because it's playing. It's that's why I think they call it a play. You should be enjoying it. And I think that you can throw away all of the other stuff in life when you're in that moment, when you're doing that thing, whether it's dancing, singing, acting, painting, whatever it is. I think that you are, like I said, at your truest self, which is the self that you were born as.
Right. So it's to segue into the whole acting, because you're a wonderful actress, and you've done a lot. You've played a lot of really interesting roles. One of them was Anna in Burn This, which is an incredibly complicated, challenging role. How did you approach that one?
Well, I felt, this is going to be easy for me, because Anna's a dancer and choreographer, but the play isn't really about that. The play is about loss, and she finds love with a very crazy and unexpected character. So I really felt that I had experienced all those things, as all of us do, and I just really used that.
Well, that's how you find the commonalities, and then
the dance thing. I think that helped me with the physicality of her, and the unexpected and crazy characters. Well, that's what my life's been full of. So, and I enjoy them, and the loss. Of course, I experienced some losses relatively young. I was very close to my grandmother. She passed away quite young. My father passed away quite young. People that were the two people that was probably the two closest people, when I was growing up. And so that stayed with me, and I think I was able to, to tap into that.
Well, you've also had a lot of your own theater companies. I think you had one company, and now you have, Renegade, that I'm involved with. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We're so happy you work with us. Are you kidding? It's an honor. I had a company called Without Papers, which was started by 3 Italians in WOP. We were called WOPs in the old days. So that and Without Papers is the acronym for WOPs.
That's right.
Because we come into the country without papers.
Right.
So I don't know who can. I don't think I was clever enough to come up with the name, but one of my partners did. And I started the theater company with people that I was in acting class with, because we'd say, we're auditioning, we're not getting enough jobs, we're not working enough, let's start our own thing. And we did. And, we did some very successful plays. We did Golden Boy.
Oh.
We did Simpatico by Sam Shepard. We did a lot of Tennessee Williams, which is my love.
Your love.
And, so we just started on our own because we thought, we're not getting the work elsewhere, we're going to make our own work.
And you were Blanche, weren't you?
Yes, I played Blanche, but not in New York City because, as you know, you can't do those.
It's very difficult.
Very difficult to get rights to do those plays unless you're casting a huge movie star or a huge Broadway star in it.
Right.
But Blanche is my favorite character, and I do relate to her on many, many levels. Yeah.
Tennessee is is probably my favorite, but. I have the roles of Tennessee that I know are my dream roles. But you know what other role I also see you as? Marguerite in Camino Real. Have you ever?
I have not done that, but I am very familiar with it.
I think one day you have to do her.
Okay.
She's a challenge. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and as you get older, I played Blanche when I was younger, and I think I could, I may be too old really to play her now, but I think I could play her better than I did then.
No,
because
I think you still can do Blanche.
But,
definitely.
Yeah, but it's funny as you get older, you find more things that you can use. Well, obviously, you have more experience and wisdom. You hope.
Yeah.
And but
I know a lot of young actresses. You're 15 years old and you say, "I want to be Blanche." And when you're 15, Blanche is going to be different than when you're like 35 or 45.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's very different. But you're a true lover of. You believe in learning about the classics.
I do. I just was always very attracted to that. When I was a bit older, after I stopped dancing, I went to college. I never went to college because I just went immediately into dance, and always wanted to. I always really liked being in school, which is a weird thing. And I studied. I went to college to study writing, and I ended up in the theater department. I ended up being a split major, and I studied in particular Shakespeare and all of the classics. I did tremendous work on. Not tremendous in the quality of my work, but a tremendous amount of work on Shakespeare. And performing, script analysis, all that stuff, and of course all the Ibsen, Strindberg. I just love, because I think that's where a lot of modern theater really comes from.
Sure.
Yeah. And there are always those influences, and I love material that comes from another time. Also, I just think it's so romantic and interesting.
It is, yeah. What would your favorite role? What would be one of your favorite roles for Shakespeare?
I love Desdemona and Othello. I did play Juliet when I was way too old to play her, just because it was a college thing and they didn't care about my age when they were casting me. But because I had danced the role of Juliet, so I felt that I knew it. And then I got to act it, and again, I was way too old. But I really enjoyed that first love, going back to that.
Well, now I'm jealous, because when I wanted to be Juliet, you know what I was cast as? Lord Capulet.
Not the nurse, though. Lord Capulet.
Lord Capulet. Welcome, gentlemen and ladies, and on we go.
So this was the opposite of all men playing the women's roles. This was women playing the men's roles.
Well, the thing is, when I was younger, I shot up before everyone else, although I stopped. I stopped, so now I'm just kind of average 5'4", and I was the tallest one in the class. I was 12 years. This little budding, female, 12 years old, she gets cast as Lord Capulet.
I love that. Oh, and I also loved, of course, Lady, who.
Yes.
Macbeth, that's just the killer role of all roles.
That would be a good one for you, too.
Yeah. Right now, I think
role.
I could do that and have fun with it.
So we were talking about favorite playwrights and all, but I was also doing research, and I saw you on YouTube, and I wasn't aware of this, and it was wonderful, touching, poignant rendition at the UN.
Oh God, that was incredible! It was done at the UN on the day, I can't remember what day of the year. I think it's usually in October, to end violence against women. And this wonderful Italian writer, who's also a very big promoter in Italy, Serena Dandini, had written this. Well, she didn't write this. A lot of the stories are I think most of the stories are true, but she wrote or collected a whole series of monologues of women who had been killed by their lovers or husbands. And
Very
the
heavy.
monologues were
Pertinent.
written from it's sort of like Spoon River Anthology, where they're written from the grave. And she would go around the world and get, well-known actresses, but also different public figures, maybe female writers, female athletes, and she'd gather a group of them to do a performance of this. And she would go all over the world doing it. And the UN asked her to bring it to New York, and I don't know why, but I was asked to do it. I was after I'd been on Sopranos, so but maybe she had known me from there. I think that might have been it. And it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I would love to take this piece and perform it. It would have to be, translated from Italian because the script is in Italian, and she had translated for us, obviously. But it's still a project that I really want to do, and I would love that you would be in it if we could get this going.
But no, when I saw it, I wasn't aware of it. We've been friendly for 6-7 years now, but I don't go online researching people that I'm friendly with,
Neither do I. And it was, there wasn't a lot of press about it. It was just a really incredible day. We spent the whole day at the UN going to conferences. We did the performance. They did a dinner it was very, very lovely. Yeah, and I will never ever forget that. And
I think it's always topical, and unfortunately, I think it's a timeless topic when you're talking about women in various cultures being used and abused, so to speak. And I thought when I saw that again, it was very well done.
Oh, thank you. It was, we had no rehearsal. We went in a room.
But
10
you're
minutes.
An instinctual actress. I've seen you. You just take the material.
10 minutes before we had to go out there, we sat in a room and read them for the first time. And I thought, well, you know what? It is what it is. And it was good in a way because I think had I had time to really think about it, I would have cried through the entire piece. It was difficult to get through it.
That's what I'm saying. But I think that would make a wonderful film if they could almost broaden out the whole everybody, or at least choose some of people's experiences.
Yeah.
And create they have movies like that. I don't know if there's a movie term where you have the theme and then you explore different, almost like short stories or vignettes.
Right.
That, and I saw that.
Like an anthology type thing.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah. And
no, it would be great. It could be expanded upon or it could be performed as is. And it's so effective.
Yeah.
People in the audience were really moved by it, and I was very proud to be a part of it.
So kudos on many levels for being a part of that.
It was an honor for me.
Yeah. And you've also, of course, you brought up, we have to talk about The Sopranos.
Okay.
Gabrielle Dante. First of all, I loved you as Gabrielle Dante. Is it Gabrielle or Gabriella? Gabriella. And you were just so mob wife. It was perfect.
Well, that's what I did. I grew up around
so did I.
Women like that.
Why.
And I know the other women on the show, and a lot of people have said this to me, well, you weren't tough like the other women. And I thought, well, my intention when I went on the show was to play her the way I knew these women that I grew up with, because they still do exist.
You can be tough and steely soft.
Exactly.
See, that's what I think. Is there's steel underneath, but people even like when they say, oh, you're going to portray a lawyer and they have to be a certain way. It's like, well, no, I know a lot of female lawyers, and they're that's a stereotype.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think you should show your cards all the time. And also, I played Silvio's wife, and Silvio was a throwback character. He was a guy who was very much stuck in the 50s, the pompadour hairdo and the suits. And I thought the wife that he would have would not be what you would call the modern Italian-American woman.
No.
So I played her. I played my sister, kind of, in a way. And that was, had I been given situations where I had to be, tough and rough, yes, I would have done it.
But it's multidimensional. If you, like you said, if you had been given a script where that facet of her personality had to step up to the plate,
right, it would have happened.
It would have
there was one episode where I had to tell the priest off, the annoying priest,
right.
and I did it, but I didn't do it in a rough and tough way because I didn't think that she had that in her.
So then, that's a choice.
Yeah, and that was my choice, and it was what I had to do. Maybe if I had did it again now, I would do it entirely differently. But that was what I felt at the time. I don't believe in regrets. I don't believe in
second guess
in
that
going
it was
back.
fine.
You can't.
No. I know people have said the wardrobe.
Oh my
wardrobe.
God.
Now, did you have say in that, or it was a great wardrobe. I dress like that still sometimes, so I don't. What can I say?
Definitely.
I'm
a
Bronx girl.
We did. I enjoy that clothing.
Yes, so do
I think it's fun. And like I said, my sister dresses like that still. A couple of my sisters, the two who live in New Jersey, do. And I think it's just fun. But we had this great designer, Juliet Polsha, who just found the perfect things. And she would have us come in, and she really did care about what we liked and what we felt comfortable in. And, do you like this color, Maureen? Or, do you want to wear a short skirt? Do you want to wear...
Oh, that's nice.
They were very, very solicitous of what we felt comfortable in.
I think that's important, no matter where you stand in the series and how it unfolds, because sometimes you go on set or preset and wardrobe comes and they just put you in something, and you have to accommodate your comfort level to whatever is being given you.
Exactly.
People don't realize that.
Exactly. Look, if I had to play a stripper, I'd be wearing something I probably am not really comfortable in, but I would make it work. But in this situation, it was just like, I know who I'm playing. I know I'm going to maybe look ridiculous, and I know that Gabrielle.
But I don't think you looked ridiculous. That's my point.
I think her wardrobe was more over the top than some of the other women because she was married to the flashy guy and all that, and I totally enjoyed it. And I would say, Julia, I'll wear like the craziest thing that you can find.
No,
I don't care. Like, go crazier.
Well, my next question was going to be, did you get to keep any of it? Because
yes.
I would want to keep that wardrobe. That was a great wardrobe.
Absolutely. What they would do at the end of every season is and they did this with Sex and the City also, which was great. And I would try to get into those sales, but they had already taken the good stuff and there was nothing left. But we would sell the wardrobe for charity.
Oh.
But the actors would be able to go in and buy, and they would charge us $10 for something. So, and it was all for charity. So we were happy to do it. So I bought everything I could for my wardrobe. And then at the end, they just gave us stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the series, they just said, come in, whatever you want, take it. And and that was it. And there was only one suit that I really wanted that I didn't get because they said they were giving it to the Smithsonian. I don't know if it was ever displayed, but
all right,
now I still want that damn suit. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go to the Smithsonian when the magnolia trees are in bloom.
Right. I don't think it's on display there, but I think they donated what they thought were maybe the quintessential outfits for all the characters, and I doubt Gabriella is being represented there. But anyway, that suit's there, and I want it back if they're not using it.
Do you hear that, Smithsonian? We want it back.
That's right.
That's right. So after The Sopranos, and you just went to Sopranos Con. That must have been nice to meet all of these fans who still just are such fans.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of scary for me because I didn't know what to expect, and I thought it might be really crazy, and I thought also there are going to be actors there who had bigger and more important roles, and I thought, well, I'm just going to kind of be sitting there all day doing nothing. But the fans were so enthusiastic and really so lovely. I couldn't believe it. I was really touched by it because some of them would come up to your table and they have tears in their eyes and say, I can't believe I'm meeting you. And I'm thinking, you're crying over meeting me? That's very strange. But it was really very sweet and very touching. They were very lovely people. I just pictured something entirely different. I thought it was going to be all these people out of control. But it was a really interesting experience.
No, that's great. And I think it also all of this ties into the whole theme of flourishing, I think, because you're acting, you're pursuing roles, and part of flourishing is also feeling appreciated by others for what you contribute. And that was a wonderful, I think, venue that perhaps was a surprise, but then you find the love that comes back to you. And so again, it's creating, because I'm all, this, I'm into let's create wonderful life experiences that we can remember.
Absolutely.
We don't need to buy the designer handbag. We can buy the designer memory.
Exactly.
So to speak.
That's so true. I always say to people, I'd rather have a memory or an experience than a gift.
Yeah.
Because that is a gift.
So,
but it was really nice, and it was something that I thought about, and I thought, I'm not going to do this. It's too weird. And then I thought, no, I was part of the show, and I think that it's the right thing to do.
I think
and I was happy that I got to meet all these people. I thought they were lovely.
Yeah. It looked like it was a fantastic. I mean, somebody said to me, because I had like 2 lines on one episode of The Sopranos. So talk about minuscule in the anthology or whatever you want to call it.
But every line was important because those writers. I mean, you couldn't say one word that was off from what was written. So it was so carefully and beautifully written. So
well, look, that's how I got my SAG card. That was my first primetime TV gig. So
me too.
So I was thrilled. Can I just tell you? Can I segue and tell you a funny story?
Of course.
I didn't plan to, but we could always cut this out if
No.
So I get the role, right? And to get the role, you get the call back, and I have to cry hysterically, and I walk into these like 2 little line part, and there are like 30 people in this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? And so I get the part. I'm all excited. Now, this is like the big deal, right? And then the day before or 2 days before, I get a call, and I'm asked to be the understudy for my role, the stand-in.
Strange.
Not understudy, the stand-in.
The
stand-in. I'm thinking theater. The stand-in for my role. So then I freak out. I'm like, well, but I have the role.
That's strange.
So then, of course, me being me and such a positive human being, I hang up the phone, crying hysterically, calling my husband.
Oh, I would
saying,
be as well.
I think I've been misplaced. Not misplaced. I'm
replaced.
Replaced. I was like freaking out.
So what happened? Was it?
So it was a big mistake.
It was just a big mistake.
It was a big mistake, but I was.
Oh, how awful!
I was a mess. I was, of course, that's been a long time ago. So I don't think I'd have the same reaction today. I think I'd be a little bit more savvy. And he said to me, because he always he's my rock. He said, "Did you call your agent and ask?" I was like, "No."
It's especially after going through that audition process, because I know what it was like. They had every single person involved with the show in that room,
yes, they did.
And it was daunting to walk in that room and to get it after going through that kind of high level stress experience. It was like, oh, I can breathe again. And then to get that phone call must have been very disconcerting.
But anyway, back to you.
But you did it, so
I
great.
Did it, yes. So, and you also were on Lilyhammer, which was one of the first major shows on Netflix.
Yeah, it
Huge
was
success.
Actually, the first.
Was it the first
scripted series on Netflix? Of course, I was in that purely nepotism because my husband, wrote and co-wrote and starred in it, and they needed somebody to play his ex-wife in a couple of episodes in New York, which was appealing to me because
I was going to ask you, if you went to Norway?
I never went to Norway.
Oh, you didn't?
I never went to Norway the whole time he was shooting over there because I can't stand the cold. And he was always shooting in the winter because they wanted the snow.
Yeah,
they wanted to have all
there.
those terrible weather conditions, even though it's a very peaceful kind of snow there, not the same as the dirty New York snow. But anyway, I never went there, but he said, would you like to play my ex-wife? And again, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Is this too much? I already played your wife. It's weird. And he said, well, it's in New York. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And it was fun, I just did 2 episodes.
No, I loved it. There's one episode where you're in your bedroom, I think, and you're on.
When I'm on the phone with him,
and you're on the phone with him, and you're like, yeah, what do you want now? And I said, that's just so typical of a marriage. If you've been married a long time, that's how you speak to one another sometimes.
Exactly. And I was his ex-wife, but we stayed friendly. And funny line in that particular scene was that I got to say, whoa, this is just like a Sopranos episode, because he had asked me to get involved in some, one of his schemes, one of his gangster schemes.
That's
and it was funny. So it was kind of almost a campy thing for me to do. And it was basically the same character, same hairdo, same wardrobe and all that stuff.
Look,
and it was fun.
We all sometimes get typecast, right? I mean,
Exactly.
I'm always typecast as the blue-collar Italian, so what the hell?
Yeah,
You're an expert at it.
And it was fun. I thought, no pressure. I didn't have to audition for the part. I'll just go in and have fun. I got to be in a scene with Bruce Springsteen acting in the last episode, and I thought that was pretty gruesome scene, but he was great, and it was just fun to work with Tony Sirico again from Sopranos. So it was kind of like a little family reunion, and it was fun. It wasn't a high pressure thing because I put myself through a lot of angst whenever I do any kind of acting role, and this one was pretty relaxed and fun.
Well, you really put your heart and soul into every role. I know. I'll just quickly mention, like, you're in Good and Screwed, and I saw you do your research You really put your heart and soul into it. So you make sure that when you come on set, some actors just like kind of come on set and don't, they just say their lines or what have you, and you do your research and you know everything and you're on time and you bring a presence to it, and it's wonderful because you give back to the actors who are acting with you, so that everybody's really in the scene.
Oh, well,
and some actors don't do that.
Oh, listen, I know. We both know that from working on stage and in film. But thank you for saying that. It's really nice to hear. But I think that you owe that to yourself. You owe that to the writers. You owe that to the creators of the show. And you, in this case, is wonderful writing. And I immediately I knew exactly who she was from the way you wrote it, and the people that you're working with. I mean, I feel these things are ensemble efforts. You don't go out there and just worry about yourself, although we both know that many actors do that. But it's more rewarding when you're part of a team.
Yeah, that's the whole idea about an ensemble.
I'm only as good as my partners are in the scene, and they're only as good as I am. I think that we have to give to each other. We have to support each other.
Well, I think that creates an energy that's on set, is when everybody knows that they're there for each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if the audience may not even realize it, but there's an energy then that happens, and things happen because everyone feels safe and everyone's just creating.
Yeah,
and relating and listening.
And I think you're cheating yourself if you go in and you're not prepared. You just think, oh, I'll just learn these lines and I'll go in and do what I do, and that's it. I just think, if you're going to do it all the way.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I was lucky to be, asked by you to be in this, because it's beautiful, beautiful work and writing, and again, another honor for me.
Thank you. But so with The Sopranos, I think what was great about that is you've talked about, and it ties into just life experiences, is what you came away with. It's like you have some really good friendships now as a result of that.
Yes.
Almost like your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say my two close friends that I came out of The Sopranos with are Vincent Pastore and Bobby Finaro. And we've stayed friends since. I wasn't really friendly with Vinny on the set. Well, first of all, he left in the second season, and I came in the second season, so we didn't really, interact. But over time, I don't know how we kind of just found each other and ended up working together. And Bobby, I became friendly with on set.
Okay.
He was sort of the new guy, and we just started talking one day, hit it off, and I still love those guys and work with those guys, and. I was really happy I came away with that from the show.
Well, I know them too.
Of course
they're
you
really
do. I know you've worked,
guys.
You worked with both of them, and we're all a family now.
Yeah, and you also you teach acting. You co-teach at HB Studios, and I've witnessed it. And you're just so uplifting, and you create a safety net, and you give really incisive feedback to these actors, and I think that's important, and you're enjoying it too, right?
Oh yeah, I love it. I love working with young artists, whether they're dancers or actors or musicians. Even though I'm not a musician, I've worked with a lot of young musicians on things. I just think, from having studied, done acting classes, as I'm sure you have, there have been some teachers that have not been as supportive as they could be. And I think the role of a teacher is really, really important. It's to make you feel safe. It's to make you feel that in that atmosphere, you can do whatever you want. You can risk doing something really stupid or crazy. You can fall on the floor. You can do whatever it takes to experiment to reach your goal, which is creating a character or making the scene work. And I think if you don't feel safe, you're always going to hold back.
I think you're right.
And so I'm lucky to teach the class with Vinny, who's created a great atmosphere, and it's just it's very rewarding for me. It's rewarding to give people notes, and then the next week they come back and they've actually listened to what you said, and the scene is better and it works for them and they feel happy, and that's very rewarding to me.
No, well, it's very giving. It's very generous. So I feel like I've barely even touched on everything, but I did want to bring up some things because I think it's great advice as you're such a role model and an icon for women in their 40s and 50s and 60s, and I know you're a vegan and you're a strong animal rights activist and you love animals. And
yes, absolutely.
Right? And so, do you eat pasta?
I do.
You do.
Now, it's, pasta is not always vegan. It's, you have to find the ones.
I had to ask. Lasagna is one of my favorite foods. So.
Well, I cheat sometimes with the pasta. Sometimes I will eat the regular one that I assume is made with a little bit of eggs or something. I really, really try my best to do it. Sometimes if you're traveling, you can't, New York City, it's relatively easier to get vegan foods. We can have chickpea pasta and artichoke pasta and things like that. So it's become a lot easier. But if you're traveling in the South or something, you're not going to get anything vegetarian even. So it's tough, but it's it's a challenge.
Why did you become a vegan? For health reasons? For philosophy?
I never really liked eating meat even as a child, and it used to upset me when I would see like the body of the chicken on the table, and I would think about, that's an animal that was killed. Right. In those days there was no awareness of that at all, and I just, I ate what I was given by my parents and my grandparents, and that was it. So, but as I got older, I just it was both. I felt better not eating meat, and I started not eating red meat. Then I eliminated the chicken. It was a gradual process. I was vegetarian for a long time, and then in the 80s I went vegan, which was very early, and like I said.
Yeah,
you couldn't eat anything but tofu.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really tough, but I stuck with it, and now it's a lot easier.
It keeps you very fit and healthy.
Yeah, look, you can eat junk. I eat potato chips. I eat junk like that. That is vegan, but it's not really not really healthy.
I've learned something
I eat
today.
vegan desserts. I eat vegan ice cream. I'm sure it's got a ton of sugar. I think sugar is the real enemy here, and I would love to be able to get off that, but.
Yeah, sugar's hard. I've been trying.
It's really tough.
I think I can get it down to like only 20% of my diet as far as what's in other foods.
Yeah, I think I don't want to suffer. You know what I mean? It's the vegan diet now is very comfortable for me, and I actually do like that kind of food. But I can't eliminate every single damn thing.
Yeah.
So the sugar, I do it. I know it's not great for you, but.
And you're a huge animal rights activist. I know you love animals and you love
my little Edie.
Your
yes,
little Edie.
I do love animals and just wish I could do more. It's a very, very tough battle.
Yeah.
Animals don't have the rights that they should have, and it's again getting slowly better, but not there yet.
So as far as flourishing, I'll ask one or two quick questions, and then I know we have to end it. But I've been kind of enjoying myself.
Yeah, this is fun. It was like
like
going out to lunch and hanging.
Well,
out.
that's the whole trip. That's the point. You're just sitting somewhere on your terrace.
Great, and you're a great interviewer, by the way.
Thank you. And so you travel. I know you love London.
I do.
And so my question, and I saw this great sexy photo of you and Stephen in Portofino.
Oh, that's an older one, but
it's a goodie. That's a goodie.
Yeah, I do. I love the Italian Riviera. I've been very lucky that I've married to a guy who has toured all over the world, so I've gotten to go to some great places I probably would not have been able to on my own, or not as many anyway.
You recommend it because that's also how one flourishes, by exploring and traveling and learning different cultures.
Exactly.
And foods.
No, I've been very, very lucky with that.
So is England your favorite, or which country, or would you say, or city, would you say?
I would say London is my favorite. I did live there for a very short time in the early 70s when it was more of swing in London. It was right after the youthquake thing with the Beatles and all that, but it was still a really great time to be there. I just loved it. The minute I went there, I felt completely at home. I have great friends who are British, and I would go over there, and I just feel like I could just stay here, and I probably would, if my husband, he doesn't like the weather, but I do. I love Italy. I love that Italian Riviera. I don't think there's anything more gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful there.
And south of France, I love those places, and I know people think that's very chic and fancy, but it's not about the glam or glitzy part of it. It's just there's something so beautiful. It's a peaceful, relaxing. You're surrounded by beautiful things to look at. And I mean nature. I don't mean,
I know.
Diamonds and palaces and all that
No,
stuff.
I know.
It's just, it just really, it just takes you away from, the craziness of the world.
Well, I want to promote your podcast that you do with Josh
thank you.
Accardo,
Which you've been a guest on.
Yes, but it's really fun. And we didn't get to touch upon, I was going to ask you, but we really don't have time. But you do some great impersonations on that.
Well, we've kind of stopped that because I said, it's all turning into the same person. So, but it's fun.
But I wanted to plug that, everyone. It's
Thank
a
you so
wonderful podcast.
Thank you.
And so I think we'll kind of wrap this up a bit, unfortunately.
Oh.
But I did want to just give a quote from Tennessee Williams, what Blanche says, because I think...
I'm very happy to hear that.
I think it embodies you. I don't want realism, I want magic.
Yes.
So we want to thank you for making the world, through all of your philanthropy and everything that you do, a more magical place.
Oh, well, thank you. With that is the quote from Blanche that I love the most. So you really know me.
Yeah, I try.
I'm not saying I'm creating magic, but that is what I would love to happen in the world.
So we usually close. We sometimes we do close with a book recommendation, but you want to know something? I think based upon this conversation, when we talk about the arts and all, I think we'll just propose that everyone try to read Tennessee Williams. That's the book recommendation. It's our play recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, because in his plays there is poetry, there are stories, there's everything. So yes. I would absolutely recommend.
And we ask a few questions. So quickly, what excites you now? What excites you?
Doing anything creative, and I think the thing that most excites me now is teaching people.
Okay. Well, you're a great teacher. You should continue with that.
Well, thank you.
And is there anything that steams you and annoys you? Just quickly.
Oh God, I mean, people that are judgmental. I just hate someone just looking at someone and making an opinion based on a very quick encounter. That really, really upsets me. Of course, any cruelty to animals, there are a number of things. I'm pissed off every day, so I could go on and on.
And if you had to give any advice to women over 40, between 40 and 105, what would you say to them in order to continue to flourish in their lives?
I think that every decade of your life, every year of your life, you're going to learn something new, and you're going to be a better person and a more evolved person. And I think that you just have to not quit anything you're doing, and also tackle new things. Go take a course, learn Italian, go see some movie you wouldn't normally see, go ice skating. I just think that you have to continue to do things that expand your horizons, and also to really spend time with the people that you love. As you get older, I think that circle becomes smaller and smaller, either because of unfortunate circumstances or just not wanting to put up with the bullshit, right. If I can say that.
No, you can. We've cursed on the show, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really it. I think as you get older, yes, it's not easy to see yourself aging, and I'm not saying that, I don't wish that I looked like I did when I was 20, but on the other hand, I don't think I would go back. I think that, you are who you are, and I think you have to be happy.
Well, I think first of all, you're still beautiful, so don't underrate yourself in any way. And I think character shows on people's faces, and when someone has character, there's an incandescent beauty that happens.
Absolutely.
And so I think you're gorgeous. So there you go.
Oh, thank you.
And so, Maureen, thank you again.
Well, thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
If you want to join me in our motto.
Absolutely.
So please remember,
kindness counts.